Okay, students, today our lesson is going to be a review of algebra skills. And so our learning objective is going to be to find and use slopes of lines. As you recall from Algebra 1, the steepness of a line is called the slope. Looking at this one, I have 4 different types of slopes. Here, we call this the positive slope because it's going to rise as we look at it from the left to the right. We read from left to right, so we're going to judge these by reading from left to right. This one rises. This one, again, was the positive slope. This one, it's going to fall as we move from left to right. So this one is the negative slope. This one here, we say has a 0 slope because it doesn't rise or fall. It stays horizontal. I don't have enough room to write it here, so I'm going to put horizontal. And horizontal has a 0 slope. Here, this is the undefined slope, and an undefined slope you can see is a vertical line. And this would be no slope. And again, from Algebra 1, remember that slope is how we move from point to point. So it's going to be how we go from point A to point B. It'll be the rise over the run, or the change in y over the change in x. Here you'll see that this y has a small 2, and this y has a 1. Remember, it's from point A to B, so there's going to be 2 points. This is the y-coordinate of your second point, and this is the y-coordinate of your first point. This is the x-coordinate of your second point, and the x-coordinate of your first point. And that'll make a little bit more sense as we have an example on the next page. Okay, your next page, you'll have problems like this on your homework where it'll ask you, find the slope of a line that passes through the given points. So here I'm given 2 points and I don't have a picture to go by. So I'm going to use this method here, which helps me organize. I always try to put numbers in charts to help me organize my thoughts. I'm going to choose a color. This point right here is going to be my orange point, and I'm going to separate this. That's going to be your 2 under the x, and that's the y-coordinate, so I'm going to put a 9 here. I'm going to choose a different color, blue. This will be my blue point. This is going to be 4 and 5. Now remember, I said change in x and change in y. We put the change in y over the change in x. So here, this is going to be 9 minus 5, which is 4, over 2 minus 4, which is negative 2. Always reduce your slope. That's a negative 2. Using that same method, choose a color. I'm going to use the same colors. Orange, that's going to be negative 3, positive 6, and blue, which is going to be negative 7 and positive 10. It's very important to make sure that you go the same direction. You can choose to subtract 6 minus the 10 or the 10 minus the 6. It doesn't matter, but whatever you choose for the y's, you have to go that same direction for the x's. I'm going to choose 10 minus 6 this time. I'm going to choose the blue minus the orange. What that means is that I'm going to have to say that's negative 7 minus the negative 3. Well, 10 minus 6 we know is 4, but this one, remember our algebra rules for integers, that's going to be negative 7 plus a positive 3. Different signs means you subtract and take the sign of a larger number, so that's a negative 4. 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. So our slope is negative 1. You're also going to be given pictures, diagrams, where you're going to have to determine the slope. And all you want to do is identify 2 points and then find the movement between these 2 points. The movement between point A and B is going to be, for rise, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going up 4. Remember, up is positive. And to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, 5. That's also positive. So that is positive 4 over positive 5. Up is positive, down would be negative, right is positive, left would be negative. What type of slope do I have here? Well, if I remember from the other side, this is rising from left to right, so it's positive, but I can also look here. We don't always put a plus sign or a positive symbol whenever we have a slope, but if we don't have anything there, that's an understood positive, so it's for this positive. Alright, over here, this line has two identified points. The movement on this line from point to point is going to go down 2, down 2, right 1, 2, 3, right 3. Again, down is negative, so that's negative 2, right is positive, so it's positive 3, and this equation, or this fraction, is going to be negative 2/3. Again, this is falling from left to right, so it would be negative, or I can look here. That's a negative slope. Here's a good place to pause for part 2. I'm going to fill this in, and then I want you to check it, and then part 2 will be answering the questions about this graph on the next page. I'm going to go through one example for you, and I should suggest that since you have 8 different lines that you're going to be graphing, it's going to get hard to determine which one was line A, what was B, what was C. So I suggest using a different color for each one, and here's the colors I'm going to use. You can choose the same colors that I do, or you can choose your own, it doesn't matter. For line A, I'm going to choose orange. For line B, I'm going to choose yellow. For line C, I'm going to choose red. For line D, I'm going to choose blue. For E, it's going to be green. For F, it's going to be purple. For G, it's going to be brown. And for the last one, it's going to be pink. Okay, another suggestion I have is to actually put your dots in pencil and then draw your line in, connect your dots in that color, in case you mess up, so that, because you can't erase the color, you can only erase the dots. Alright, the other thing you need to do, the last thing you need to do before you pause the video, or actually watch the next video, is you need to draw in your X and Y axis. Okay, so here, this is 2, and this is 2, so halfway in between, right there is my origin. 2 over, 2 over, so you know that that's your origin. So go ahead and draw in, darken in your X axis and your Y axis. And just in case you need a refresher, I'll go ahead and do the first one for you. This is my Y axis. I'm going to locate this point, negative 2, 4, negative 2, up 4. There's my first point on line A. To get all the other points, I'm going to use a slope. That's up 2, to the right 3, up 2, to the right 3, or I could have gone down 2, left 3, down 2, left 3. Whichever way you choose, when you line this up, all your points should be in a straight line, and you should be able to connect your dots quite easily. I chose orange for this color for line A, so I'm going to use my orange marker, draw a line all the way across my graph, stretching it out all the way, and that will be helpful as we graph all the lines. All right, students, part 2. But when you do part 2, you want to make sure that you check all your lines to make sure they're correct.